I think there's so much little, you know, about really like
We're going to begin our next presentation. Donna Merritt, our project manager for Drupal Interactive, will be talking about making the transition, and she will be highlighting a lot of things where I believe you have a handout in your folders, which will be going over the same kind of thing, so you can reference that for notes in the future.
And I have a microphone, so tell me if the volume is okay as I go. And if you have any questions as we go along, please go ahead and interrupt, or if you can't hear me, let me know. So you guys now know what's a Drupal, and it's even better, I hope, than what you were thinking it was. It looked better even watching CJ's presentation. I thought, wow, that's even more awesome than I thought it was. And we've been working on it for a long time. So we've seen the designs, which are great. We've seen the platform, which is great. A lot of work still happening. There's a lot left to do. Everybody here kind of knows their agency's website. We know a couple of other agencies' websites, you know, to some degree. But what you may not know, we've mentioned it a couple of times today, at GTA we host 60-some websites. So when we talk about moving this platform, we're talking about moving 60-some websites. It's huge. There's a lot of work to do. And so now we're going to talk about kind of how we're going to do it and how it affects everybody in this room, so that we can stay on schedule, get done what we need to get done with an eye toward the future. So we have a lot of information to share with you. It's a lot. So get your pen out if you need to. We don't have to take notes, but it is a lot of information. Grab a cup of coffee, stick with me. I know it's late in the day, but we'll get through it. Oh, I have a mistake. Okay. There we go. So this is some of the important stuff that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the project as a whole. So, and the project for us is to build the platform, move the sites over. That's basically what our project is. We're going to talk about the scope of it, what's included in this project, what's excluded from the project, and what might be like a next phase. Just because something might not be included in this actual project, don't think we can't do it. It's just that it will be done at a later date. Then we're going to talk about the process. This is very important. How we're going to do it. And then the timeline. When are we going to do it? The timeline is the key driver in our project. In any project, you have a couple of key components that drive your project. You find the one that's most important, and then you make everything else kind of go according to that. For us, it's timeline for a couple of reasons. We've kind of been calling out our V7 customers all morning saying, oh, I'm sorry for you, or whatever. V7 is a primary driver for our timeline. Version 7 has been problematic for users. We've had a lot of folks just say, I can't get my stuff to publish, I can't clear the cache, I have to open a ticket all the time. And so it's been a little bit unstable. It's also really expensive. And we have to pay a support contract for version 7 every year at the beginning of the budget year, which is July 1. And so our goal for this project, one of our primary goals, is to get version 7 shut down by July 1. So, yay. So that is driving this project. So we really do have to draw some boundaries around the project so that we can get that done, get V6 moved over, and say this project has been a success. So we'll talk about how we're going to do that, when everything's going to happen, when the sites are going to migrate, as close as we can tell you right now. And then what, as a site owner, you can be doing kind of at this point to get ready to make your site easy to migrate, make sure it's super awesome by the time it gets into Drupal. So an overview of the project. When Nikhil started this morning, for those of you who are here this morning, he kind of brought us up from the RFP kind of business case stage up until we met our vendors, phase 2, and then the sub-vendors, Media Current and Acquia. We signed a contract with them at the end of August, and then we actually kicked off the project around October. And a lot of work has occurred since then. We've kind of been through a discovery phase and a design phase. And the discovery phase is when we went through all of the websites with phase 2. They've looked at all of them, we've looked at all of them, and kind of mapped out what are the actual things that need to be included in this platform so that we can say, you have this on Vignette, you're going to have this on Drupal as well, so that we're sure to include everything. So those were some requirements. But then also we think, how can we use this new tool that's so awesome and make sure we build it so it can be scalable into the future? So we're going to have more sites come onto our platform. We want to make sure that's easy to do. We want to add more functionality as we move along. We want to make sure that's easy to do. So we spent a whole lot of time mapping out all these requirements with phase 2. And then the platform build begins. So we went through a design phase, and Peter showed us the style tiles, the comps that we have, which are fantastic. The development phase where CJ has been building this platform for us on which we'll build all of these websites. So that's ongoing. That's not complete now. It sure looked good, but there's a whole lot more to do on that. So we're working on that. And we're starting to move into the deployment phase, which is when we're actually going to take these websites, pick them up from Vignette, and move them onto Drupal. So we're in the alpha round now, which is kind of the very preliminary round of websites that we're going to move over. We found some websites that are representative in content of our platform. So we found 7 websites. We said, well, these have a good amount of content, or a good mix of content, and we're going to test with these. And we've been doing that for a couple of weeks, and that is continuing for the next several weeks. We're practicing. We're moving content from the website to the new platform, checking it out, moving it again, checking it out, changing the scripts, whatever needs to happen. So that's the first round. We're in that now. And we're also planning out the next rounds. We're going to be moving these sites in order of platform. So V7 is going to go first, then V6 is going to go, and we're going to break it down into multiple rounds of migration over the next several months. So we're going to do several sites each month until the end of summer, the end of Vignette, and we'll all celebrate. So we're planning that now. The next steps for us, finish the development, meet with all the agencies individually. Some of you we've already met, but we'll be meeting again to talk specifics about your migration. And then we're going to do it, and it's going to be a huge success. So the scope of the project, this is kind of where we start to say it's time to talk boundaries in this project. We have to say, what can we do realistically, working with what we know we have to do. The success criteria for our project, we know we have to take these websites, everything that's on these websites from Vignette, and move them onto Drupal. We know that. We're going to get a design refresh as a bonus as part of that, so that's fantastic. So at the end of this project, we'll have a new platform. All the sites, all the content will be moved over live in production on Drupal. Everybody will be trained to edit their own website. So that will be success for our project. We have been using this analogy that I think is pretty effective when we're talking to agencies. We're considering it like moving your home, so you're moving from one house to another house. So we're thinking of it that way. We're building a new neighborhood, basically, on this platform. And everybody's going to live in the neighborhood in their own little house, which is a website. So we're building these houses, and then we're going to move your stuff, right? We're going to move the stuff that you have. We're going to say, if you have a couch, we're going to move the couch. The same couch is going to be in the new house. We might have to turn it, a little because the room is a little different or whatever, but the couch is going to be there. At the end, we're going to count your pieces of furniture and make sure all the furniture is accounted for. Live content is what we're moving. If you don't use it, if it's not visible on your website, live published content, it's not going to be migrated. So this is a very important point to make, and you'll probably hear me say it about a half a dozen times today, and in our meetings when we meet individually. If it's not on your website, we're not going to move it. There's a lot of reasons for that. Some is data storage, some is just ease of migration. But now's the time. We'll think about that to clean out, basically, your house before you move. You're also getting a design refresh, so we're very, very excited about that. Peter showed you the designs, which are fantastic. What's excluded is new functionality. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that we're not going to use all that cool stuff that CJ showed us on Drupal, because we certainly are. The platform can do really neat things. not everybody has a calendar right now. If you have a calendar, you'll have the Drupal calendar when we move you over. If you don't have a calendar now, now's not the time to add a calendar during the migration, if that makes sense. If you don't have it now, we'll build it for the future for you down the road after the migration, kind of as a phase 2 of your project. But the goal is to move it as is. So if you don't have a swimming pool at your house, we're not going to dig one for you before August, but maybe after August we'll talk about a swimming pool. We're not taking the moving van around to get your storage units and so forth that are off-site. If it's not on your website, it's not moving during this round, well, during any round. Custom design and alterations to the templates. Now this is also very important. So Peter showed us 8 kind of iterations. We have 4 templates. Each one has like a light and a dark, basically. That's what we're using. And we're not going to be changing the gray from light gray to dark gray. It is what we're showing you on the style tiles. Now, having said that, the layout is very, very flexible. So the websites aren't going to look the same. The style tile is one thing, but when you see the website, your content is different from agency to agency. So you'll be using different modules. They'll be in different places. You may have different pictures in the big rotator. You may not even have the rotator. So we're not worried about the websites looking the same. So that's not a worry, but we are very strict on our timeline, and we are going to stick to the design templates that we have developed. So no new wallpaper at this point in our new house. So how are we going to do this? Now, we have a lot of work to do between now and July 1, and then through the end of the summertime to get all the sites moved over. This is kind of an overview of the process we're going to follow. And you'll hear process a whole lot today. We have to stick to a process or else we'll never, ever meet our deadlines. So this is kind of the highlights of what we're going to do, and we'll talk about each thing. So we're going to meet with everybody individually. We're going to move your content over to your new website. We have some very thorough QA testing that we're going to do. Obviously, we want to make sure everything is working right. Train everybody so everyone is confident, ready to edit their website when it goes live. You'll have that empowerment. We'll launch the websites to production, and then we'll have post-launch. We don't want to end the project right there necessarily. It's a website, it grows, and we're ready for that. So the first step is the pre-migration meetings, and we've had a couple of these already. We've been meeting with you all since, I think, September or so, just to kind of let you know what's going on with the project. But these are going to be the meetings that happen about 1 month before your site is scheduled to go and be migrated. This is where the decision points happen. Peter noted earlier, you don't have to decide today, do you want friendly to or whatever templates. You don't have to make that choice now, but you will make that choice when we go to you about a month before your site goes live. We're going to come to you, the business owner of the website and whoever else, the webmaster, whoever the key players are, meet with you and we'll bring a checklist. And basically the checklist is going to say, this is what we're going to do. This is what's going to be on your homepage. We're going to base that on what's on your homepage today. So if you have a list of links, we'll say checkbox, list of links, and they're ordered this way or whatever. We're going to set dates. So there'll be a date for when we migrate your content, kind of a content dual entry phase, and I'll explain that more in a minute. When is your site going to be in QA? When is your site going to go live? And these are dates that are really, really important because as you'll see in the next couple of slides, the timeline is very, very aggressive. So we're going to be really actively sticking to these dates that we agree upon in our pre-migration meeting. That'll occur about a month before you go live. The next thing is we build your website, we build your house, and then we move you in. And this is not as labor intensive from a manual standpoint as it may sound. Our partners at Phase 2 and Media Current have been in the process for a really long time actually of building scripts to pull the data from Vignette and move it over into this new platform that CJ just showed you. And the scripts are working really, really well. We've been testing them for a while. So we're really excited about that. We're not going to sit there and copy from one page and paste into another, thank goodness. It's an automated migration. So what we're going to do is kind of set up the dates and say, we're going to migrate your site from date A to B. And it'll be a few days. It may be up to like a week on average of business days. So maybe a Monday to a Friday, let's say. You'll be in this content freeze zone. And what happens in the content freeze zone is we're gonna, on day one, push the button and move your content over. So whatever content you have in Vignette on that day is the content that's going to be in Drupal when your site goes live. So if you put more content into Vignette, which you can, you're totally welcome to update your website if you want to during that week. It's just that it won't be reflected in the new website when it launches. So you want to keep track during that period of time of anything that you change and know that's going to be entered into Drupal manually after the fact by you. So you might want to limit that during the content freeze days. Your site is not going to experience any downtime. The Vignette site will be available, it'll be live, and everybody can see it. Whatever you do to it is totally fine. We're working on an entirely different server for the Drupal site. So we're building it in parallel to the Vignette site, which is actually really good because as we get into testing and stuff, we can compare your live site to your new site, no problem. And only live published content will be migrated. So that's like 3 times I've said that, so I hope I don't get too redundant. The next stage is QA testing. And this is where we just make sure that we've done everything we said we were going to do, basically. So if the content's on your site live, we're going to make sure it's on your site in Drupal. There's a lot of QA testing that's going to happen. So our partners at Phase 2 are doing the actual migrations for us. And before they call and say, hey Donna, the DHS site is ready to go, they will have done QA. What we call A/B testing. They're going to look at the live site, look at the new site, everything looks good. Then they're going to call us, and everybody here in the black t-shirts will do a second round of QA testing. We're going to look at the pages and say, okay, everything is there. So this is where we say, all your furniture made the move, where the mover's at the end with the checklist, everything made the move. And your couch is not upside down. The layout is okay, right? And then we're going to say, okay, Mr. and Ms. Agency, your site is ready, let's take a look. We're going to give you the opportunity to review the site in Drupal while your Vignette site is still live, make sure it meets your specifications. So the things that we're looking for, yes, all the content is there. An example of what we're not looking for is, yes, the content is there, but boy, that paragraph isn't very well written. We're not going to launch until I rewrite that paragraph. That's not what we're looking for. Those are not the sorts of things that are going to delay the launch. As long as everything we said we were going to do is done, we're going to go ahead and check it off and say, yes, we met the requirement. Training. There was a question over here about training earlier. We're going to have in-person kind of classroom setting training for everyone here at GTA. We'll have a demo site available where you can log in and practice. It won't be your website because we won't be able to phase it with all of the different rollouts to give you individual site access, but it'll be a demo site that has all of the features and functionality that you'll be using. We'll show you how everything works. You can log in, you can test it, you can try to publish and so forth and so on. And we'll have many of those training sessions because we have many rounds of migration. So we're not too worried about it. If you miss one, like if you miss your round, maybe we can fit you into another one. So we'll be sure that everybody gets the training that they need. And at the same time, Phase 2, our partner, has done a lot of these before. And they kind of know what are common questions and whatever. And they have some training materials that they've developed, and they're going to share with us, customized for our platform. So we'll have a training manual, and we'll publish it online so that you can have it at your fingertips when you go back to your offices. Some videos, just about whatever you need, so to help you be ready for when your site goes live. And the next thing is the launch of the website. And so this is pretty interesting. I like the way that this is set up. We're not launching on the same servers. So it comes down to, we just flip the DNS, which means that we tell the internet, when you type in dhs.georgia.gov, now go to this server instead of that server. So that's all that has to happen technically to launch your website once you say it's okay on the Drupal environment. This is a really key point that I want to make with you. When we have these pre-migration meetings, we're going to set these dates forward and say, this is the date we're going to launch your website. We're going to give it to you for review on this day, we're going to launch it on this day. And that's really what we're going to do. So we want to make sure that everybody is really engaged during this week. If all the conditions that we had agreed to in our pre-migration meeting have been met, if we can check every checkbox down that list that we all looked at, we're going to go ahead and launch that website on the date that we said we would. We're certainly going to give you the opportunity to review it and give us feedback if something's broken. We're certainly going to not launch with anything broken. But if it comes down to we don't hear from somebody or schedule conflict and so forth, trust that we're going to launch the website if everything meets the criteria that we had agreed to. Minor tweaks and requests, like that paragraph is really outdated, the directions to our office, or that's the wrong phone number, those are not things that will delay the launch. Once your site's live and in production, you can update it, and you can change it just like you can today. So that's really not too big of a concern. No downtime on your current website. Like I said, it's a new server. We just have to point the address to the new server. So once that happens, we can take away the old one, but we won't do that until we're sure everything is working just fine. We'll try to do it on a weekend. We're in the process of planning this now, but we want to do it when people aren't navigating to your site. We're not going to do it at noon on a Wednesday. We're more likely to do it at 9 o'clock on a Friday night or something like that. And the approximate timeline, so y'all are aware, from the start of your migration, when we push the button and say content go now, until we push the button and say DNS go now, is about a week, we think, for an average website. We're trying not to drag this out for too long. We know that having 2 platforms to maintain is a lot for folks. This is not our primary jobs for a lot of us in the room, so we're going to try to minimize that. Big sites, if you have 2,000 pages, you know, it might take a little longer, but that's average. The next step is post-launch. We're not going to leave you hanging or anything like this after we launch the website. This is kind of where we're going to ask for your help. As you go through, note any issues. So like if you did get a new house and the window doesn't open, let us know, open a ticket, because we'll certainly work to fix that as quickly as we can. But if you say, I want a new window, that's a whole different thing. So anything that is functionally wrong, if content didn't make it and you notice it down the road, let us know, and we'll definitely take care of it. And at the same time, if you do think forward and say, well, I remember CJ showed me Drupal can do blah, and now I want to do blah, make note of it, and we'll start thinking about next steps for your website after the migration. We want to maximize this tool moving forward. It's so neat. The things that you can do are so awesome, and we definitely want our websites to be forward-thinking and scalable. We're building them that way. The migration project has a hard start and a hard finish, but your website goes on, and it's going to grow, and we're going to work with you to help it grow. We can open individual projects as needed to add features and functionality to your website after the migration happens. And like always, those sorts of projects will just be a statement of work, an agreement between GTA and your agency. We'll figure out hours, figure out charges on a per project basis, just like we do now. We'll be asking for feedback, so we want to know everything that you guys think about the process of this project. How could we do communications better, or what worked really well for you, so we'll know moving forward. But we also really, really want to hear what you guys think about this new tool. We're excited. We think it's great, but if there's ways we can improve it, we're going to actively work to do that. And so your post-migration feedback will be really important to us. So here's the big thing, the timeline of our migration. And like I said, this is our driver. This is everything. Everything we do is according to a timeline. And having said that, these dates are months. These aren't down to the day just yet. We're in the alpha round now, and the date there indicates when the sites in the alpha round are going to go live, when you can navigate to them as a constituent. April. So we'll have our first round of sites live in April. Then you'll see we're moving the V7 sites May and June, so that by July 1, we don't write that check, to Vignette for the next year's support contract. Version 6, July and August. And we'll see what sites go in which round. This is the moment we've been waiting for. These are our good friends who have agreed to be part of the alpha round. We have 7 websites, and several of you, John is in the room, and Yen, and I saw Tommy earlier. 7 websites that have agreed to be a part. We've already talked to everybody on the list. We're going to have our official pre-migration meetings here probably in the middle of March, and we're going to do it just like any other round. We're going to have dates associated with it. We're going to do the automated migration, pick a template, 1 week of content freeze or duplicate entry, launch you to production and see how it goes. Between now and then, we're practicing with these sites. We're taking their content, moving it in. We've already done QA on it. We've already seen it migrated. We're adjusting the scripts. We're fixing bugs and doing it again and doing it again and really working down this process. And so while we're in the alpha round, we're kind of working out all the kinks, taking our time so that we can really step forward quickly through the next several rounds. So the next slide here, this is version 7, round 1. This is May timeframe. And we have 5 websites in the May timeframe. And 5 websites in a month should be totally doable. We're not too worried about it. The exact dates are yet to be determined. If somebody slips from one month to the next month, please bear with us. We're figuring all of this out down to the specifics as we go along. But this is what we think at this time. And these slides, by the way, are available tomorrow online. So I used everybody's acronym just to save space. Version 7, round 2 is June, and we have a whole bunch of DHS websites to move over. And that's who we'll be working on in the second round. And then V7 is kaput, and we're very happy. Version 6, now see this is where I say the timeline is very aggressive. We are moving to work to move these websites over as quickly as possible. So this is like 15 or so websites in the month of July, which is a whole lot of work. So when we come to you and say, these are the dates, we're pretty serious, these are the dates. And unless, you know, something terrible happens, which by this time, we'll have it down to a science, these are the sites we expect to move in July. August, the last round of sites. We put a lot of care and consideration into kind of batching these sites. You'll notice that the governor's site is here, the governor's mansion, I think the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, our elected officials are in this round. We wanted it to be well after the legislative session. We considered a lot of things, and we wanted to move all the elected officials at the same time. We wanted to batch these sites according to some are really big, some are really small, some are kind of easy, some are kind of hard. And so we thought about it a lot. We didn't just like randomly draw names out of a hat or anything like this. But as we come and talk to you in your pre-migration meeting, we'll ask you what dates specifically in the month of August are good or bad for you, that sort of a thing. So between now and your pre-migration meeting, which is about a month before you go, what can you be doing? Well, there's plenty that you can be doing if you have the time. This would be like I'm going to move in a couple months, I'm going to go ahead and have a garage sale. Clean it up if you can in Vignette. If you've got boxes and boxes you haven't opened since the last time you moved house, throw them away. You know, that's fine. Delete it. Unneeded content, there's no reason to have it, get rid of it. Or make it live. If you think you need it, go ahead and assign it to a channel and we can talk to you and work with you to get that live. That way it's sure to make it in the migration. Information architecture changes. So CJ showed you how easy it is to move stuff around, and it is in Drupal, that's great. But if you want it to be in a different place when we migrate you, do it in Vignette, because anything in Vignette is going to be moved that way into Drupal. So if you know in your head right now you want to change some things, go ahead and change them. That's totally fine, and we'll take care of it in the automated migration over. Pictures, this is a good one. There's a lot of opportunity on these new websites to add a lot of personality, to make them kind of really specific to your agency. That's another way that these agency sites are all going to look different. You have that big rotator at the top with the big picture. Pick some out, you know, or take some, or hire a photographer if your agency has budget to do so. Find some really neat pictures that really speak to your constituents, and make sure you have license and rights to use them. But you can be gathering those now. And when we make your migration, you can give them to us, and we'll make sure that they're in now where they're supposed to be. You can add them to your sites now, too, and they'll be moved over in the same place that they are right now. So basically, we're having a garage sale, we're cleaning up our stuff, moving it from one room to the next if you want to. Or if you want new curtains, hang new curtains down. We'll take them on the move. So these are the kinds of things that we can be working on. So that's it in a nutshell. I know it's a lot of information that's very aggressive and everyone has some concerns. Happy to answer any questions about the process or any questions about anything that we've talked about today. Anybody? Well,
I'm thinking of an example, like on the homepage, for example, we have the rotating pictures on the homepage. Right now, they're really small pictures, and it seems like, you know, the new templates that you have, there's a larger space for images. So what do we do with that? Do we put bigger images in there, or do we provide you with the pictures, the new pictures we want?
that's actually a really good answer. The question was, on the current vignette site, so you have the rotating pictures, you know, on the homepage, and they're small. They're kind of like not very big in height or width, frankly. And the new one is a lot bigger. So what do? He can't put the new pictures in the vignette site right now because they won't fit. So gather them. We can provide you with the dimensions, like for the rotator. We'll decide what size you want it to be, and we can give you the dimension. And if you gather new pictures, when we have the pre-migration meeting, let us know what you have, and we'll figure out, should we upload it somewhere or should we hold them to the side and make a note. But during that pre-migration meeting is when we're going to be noting any special considerations like that. But it's great if you can gather them now. That way, when your site goes live, it'll just look as good as it can. So, thank you. Good question. Anybody else?
Speaking of pictures, it seems like you said earlier, or someone said earlier about when we move to Drupal, someone is going to, I think it's Maze 2, already have pictures.
What kind of picture?
It's going to be a
A
picture
picture
gallery.
gallery.
Oh, okay.
And that way the license and all of that, we won't have to worry about it, right?
Well, no, we're not providing stock images. What Phase 2 is building is a photo gallery module. And what that means is, so if you are a visitor and you go to a web page, let's say you have a whole bunch of pictures you want to show, you can just kind of click through. We can have a systematic way for you to upload a lot of pictures, maybe a caption, and you can just click through the pictures. So it's the functionality, but not the content.
Videos, uploading presentations or videos that are already on the site. I think now it was advised maybe to do it through YouTube and then put it on.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the same way to Drupal?
Yes, we are asking that videos be hosted on YouTube like we're recommending now for many reasons. Again, bandwidth considerations, storage considerations. So if you upload your video to YouTube, we'll have an interface in Drupal where you can either copy and paste the little snippet of code that YouTube gives you, or you can enter the URL. I'm not sure how that's going to function just yet, but it'll be fairly easy just to add that little window of video like you do on your phone.
So we could do that maybe now, just like the pictures before.
Yeah, if you can. If you know you want to upload some video, go ahead and do so and put it on the website, and we'll make sure it migrates over.
You just mentioned storage considerations. It will be allotted so much space.
As far as the site-by-site storage, I don't have a number that's going to be restriction for each site, and I won't say there won't be. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we can get back to you on it. But I will tell you, we just had this conversation a couple weeks ago. We had done an analysis of how much our entire platform is in storage, and they're trying to build out this new platform, and they're allotting for like 10 times what we have now. So we're not that concerned that we're going to go over, so I wouldn't worry about it, but if you need an exact number, we can get it to you when we meet with you.
And you know, if there's any kind of indicator of how much space we've used.
Do you guys know CJ or Eric? Did you hear that question?
On a per site basis? Or
Yeah.
I don't know on the per site basis. All we were concerned about was the platform as a whole.
Okay.
But as a whole, it was, I believe, around 10 gigs. And then the available space, I believe, is 100 gigs.
Right.
On the new area. But I don't believe I have those numbers broken down site per site. But ThinkCat might be able to get those later.
Okay. We'll have to get back to you after listening.
I'm gonna answer the question before about the pictures. So, Georgia.org, the economic development actually has a library of pictures of Georgia. And we can certainly work with you and If you would rather have pictures of Georgia, then we can give you the URL where you can actually log in and browse it yourself. Or during the migration, I think we're going to work with you, I guess, per agencies and actually make sure if you have a rotator and you would like to have a rotator and you don't have the good picture like Balaji was saying, we will work with you and to get you a good picture, because we don't want, you know, a new site with, you know, a bad picture. We want to make sure that your site, when it's launched, is sparkling new and everything looks right. So we will work with you like agency per agency.
That's a really good point to build on, and I'm a project manager, so I'm really like a process. I don't want you to think that we're just like moving everybody over and we don't care, because we certainly do. We are going to take the time with every single site and make sure that it's as good as it can be when we launch it. It's a very aggressive timeline, but that doesn't mean we're going to sacrifice quality at all. And so all of the shirts in the black in the back with Georgia Gov, you're going to see us a lot. One of us will be assigned to every agency. I mean, we'll have multiple, like Nikhil might have 3 agencies or whatever, but as kind of the primary contact, so you'll have someone to call. You'll know who to ask, and you'll know who's going to come and see you and make sure that everything is okay. There will be very customized discussions during that site migration meeting. We're going to say, what do you need? What is it that we can do? What's our special consideration here? I think in checklists, but not to remove any personal interaction. We certainly want to make sure the websites are satisfactory for everybody. Any other questions? Any other points you guys want to make about the migration process? Eric is our project manager at Phase 2. Anything you'd like to, that I forgot? Or? Okay. All right. So what's next?
Okay, I think we have now built on the 2 side podiums, and I think we could even use the computer on this middle podium to have hands-on demos if you guys wanted to gather around and kind of play with the CMS that CJ actually demonstrated for us to be the exact same thing, where you can upload photos and content and play around with it yourself and try to get a little bit of experience in now.
Yeah, so feel free to kind of just hover around these podiums, and if you're in time crunch, you know, that's fine. I mean, we're going to have this demo on, like C just said, we're going to take it down, but eventually you'll get, you know, some sandbox to play around with. So before we conclude the event, I just wanted to kind of really say thank you to the Georgia Governor Interactive team for putting this together on top of everything that's going on. And it was very nice to kind of have you all here. And, you know, thank you for showing up and sitting through the entire day. I'm really kind of hoping you're as excited as we are to be able to offer this to you. And thank you, Puja, for coordinating the whole thing. And we're looking forward to moving you on to Drupal.